Hello, everyone. My name is Caroline SAI, head of the EIT Health Investor Network, and happy to have you all join our Investor Network podcast. Today, I welcome Alessandro Monterosso, founder and CEO of PatchAI, an Italian startup that has developed a virtual companion for patients during their clinical studies. PatchAI is, of course, an EIT Health supported company. They came in third place this year at the European Health Catapult. They were also a finalist in the InnoStar Award competition 2019. And of course, they are, as I say, one of our favorite Gold Investor Network company. And we're thrilled to welcome Alessandro because, Alessandro, you have raised successfully a bridge round of 1.7 million euros to finance your international expansion. Alessandro, very welcome.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Nice to be here as a guest of this podcast, and very happy to share my experience.
Thank you. So tell us a little bit quickly about PatchAI. What medical issue, what problem are you solving for the patients?
Yeah, so I'm a clinical research nurse by background, and while I was, as they say, on the shop floor, I realized that some of the processes were outdated when running clinical trials. So I wanted to look for and implement a solution that would allow me to better communicate with patients in between the visits when they were at home, and also to collect valuable data. But I couldn't find one. And then I just decided to quit my job and to deep dive the possibility to launch a startup. To do what? Essentially, clinical trials are very inefficient and very long processes. They cost a lot. They last more than 15 years to get to the market, and so on and so forth. So low patient engagement was one of the common problems in clinical trials, and also data collection is very outdated. Pharmaceutical industry is one of the industries that went at the lowest pace in terms of digitalization, and thus we realized that patients usually undergoes clinical trials are also elderly or with chronic conditions, but in any other industry, they feel comfortable in using messaging tools as WhatsApp or Facebook. And thus, we asked ourselves, why don't implementing an automated way and a conversational way to guide the patients throughout the clinical trial journey while empowering them and also collecting valuable data? And that's why we transformed the so-called electronic patient-reported outcomes into conversational patient-reported outcomes, providing a virtual companion that chats with patients like a friend would on WhatsApp, and try to engage patients at every step of the clinical trial journey.
Okay. So not only are you convincing for the patient, but you've also convinced investors. You've just finished a bridge round that got you talking to European investors. Tell us a little bit what you learned during this fundraising process.
That's a good question. Fundraising is always a long and difficult process. And there are a lot of variables that bring you to the success or the failure of a fundraising round. Plus, this year we have been impacted by the COVID-19, and this also impacted many investors to jump in new companies because they were focused, on maintaining alive the companies in their portfolio that were struggling with cash during the pandemic. What I learned during this bridge round is that we should really understand what's the strategy of our investors, and we should look for the right investors to bring in the cap table. So it's correct that we look for money to survive, to expand, to grow, but it's also true that there are the right money and the wrong money. So you want to you need to consider when you launch a financing round that you are bringing into the cap table someone, and that someone should not be just a mere financial help. Otherwise, you just can go to banks to get some debt financing. You should look for something else on top of the money. That is, what can be the added value brought in by an investor, looking at their portfolio, their investment strategy, because of course, they give you money and expertise and connections, and they support you, but you need to give something back to them. And thus, you need to look at where you can go really to accommodate also their needs in terms of ROI. Because there are several types of investors, and when you look at investors and you talk with the business angels or family business office or institutional investors, they are not just different entities. They have different needs, different strategies, and they look for different things.
Absolutely. No, this is extremely useful information, because indeed it's a marriage. So it's very important to find the ones that will bring you smart money, not just equity, but also synergies, partnerships, their network. So it's important to have, I guess, you've noticed that it's very important to have the choice. And the more you have the choice of investors, the better choice you will make in the end. What were for you the biggest challenges knowing that you were looking for European investors?
Yeah, so one of the challenges was identifying the right target and implementing a fundraising strategy, because it took quite a while. It was not something very fast, and as soon as you keep growing and you are immersed into the daily operations, closing a financing round that will make you either die or live, it's pretty difficult. So one of the challenges is to identify, is to also explain and convince your investors of your global value, because it's true that every single startup born in a country, in a local environment. But then when you look at investors at a more international level, you need to prove that you can scale, and you need to justify why you want to bring in that money very carefully.
Yeah.
So one of the points is to really think about every single penny that you need to spend and justify that expenditure, and then try to satisfy the right investors of what you want to go.
Absolutely. There has to be logic with your financial business plan and your storytelling and your strategy of development. Completely. So what advice would you give your younger self or other startups, whether they're Italian or European from outside of Italy? What lessons would you, what advice would you give them?
Okay, so first of all, plan in advance, way in advance compared to what you actually think. You are always already late when you start thinking about the next fundraising round. Second of all, try to reach at least to scout and filter for the right investors that should have specific knowledge and network in what you do, and that can bring the so-called smart money into the company. They need to understand also the potential synergies in between the different investors into your cap table for the future. And then I would suggest also to plan for several scenarios, and mostly important also plan B and plan C. So what happens if I cannot make to close a deal or to close the entire round? So we need to be able, to from one side to secure some runway, on the other side to enable the growth of the company. So yeah, plan well in advance, select and scout and select for the right investors. Think about the potential synergies in between the investors in your cap table, and plan several scenarios, and also plan B and plan C.
Okay, and of course, the Investor Network is there to help startups like yourself reach to the right investors, because we also do the selection for you and help you plan your fundraising and your strategy. Okay, so when are you planning your Series A?
Okay, so Series A might happen in between the end of this year or the beginning of the next, based, of course, on the revenue stream that we're going to able to generate. I hope then that will happen at the beginning of next year, because it will mean that we made it, and that will be this year will be extremely important, because we have high objectives of growth. And we really think that the enabler for the Series A this year for us will mean, getting really international, so close some international deals. Also do at least a 3x on the revenue compared to the same growth we got this year, and really complete the scalability of the product.
Absolutely. And that is crucial before you do your Series A, is you have to deliver on your next milestone and show very interesting data to the next investors. So Alessandro, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure this will be of great help to the startups that listen to us. And we'll welcome you back with great pleasure for your Series A and help you find the right investors for the next round.
Thank you very much, and to everyone who is listening, to anybody who is listening to this podcast, the Investor Network really helped us and challenged us in every single area of our business, and led us to an improvement in several areas. So if you get into the Investor Network, use in a good sense them as much as possible, because they really can open doors and help you guys.
Thank you, Alessandro. Best of luck for 2021.